Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Friday, the 25th day of November, which is the 24th day of Cheshvan. Here we go. Today we're going to discuss more halachas about salt. The Ramah says that if you have a food on Shabbos, that's Yad Soletisbo, that means it's hot enough that if you touched it with your hand would jump away. A hot food. So the Ramah says if you have a hot food on Shabbos and you wanted to salt it, there could be a problem because the salt could become cooked by just sprinkling it onto the hot food, and you're not allowed to cause things to become cooked on Shabbos. So he says if you had a kli sheni, I'll explain what that is. The kli rishon, that's the first vessel coming right into contact with the heat. That'd be like the crock pot. So that would be like your kli rishon. You shouldn't be putting salt in there. The Ramah says that it would be questionable whether you were even allowed to be putting salt into the kli sheni. That would be the serving bowl. That's the second vessel off the fire. That serving bowl where the cholent is put into, he says that it would be questionable whether you could put salt onto something like that, because when you're putting it onto a food that's hot, it's a kli sheni, the salt could become cooked. The Mishnah Berurah says, though, that our salt of today is considered pretty much a pre-cooked item. And we say ein bishul achar bishul, which means that cooking doesn't happen after cooking. So cooked salt, as we have it today, is not going to become cooked because it's already been cooked once. And so he says that you could put it onto the into the kli sheni. Some rabbis are strict about that, even in a kli sheni when it's cholent, because they feel it's a solid item, and solid items, even when they're in that second vessel, they still can cause a problem because the solidness makes them have like an intense heat, and the salt landing on it still doesn't look all that good, because although our salt is pre-cooked, but it has that look as if you're cooking. And so some rabbis tell you not to put salt into the serving bowl of things like the cholent. But by the time the cholent is onto your plate, putting salt on it, now you're in the third vessel. The first vessel was the one on the fire, the second one was the serving bowl, the third one is your plate. So they're salting your cholent on Shabbos. Most rabbis are lenient in that situation because you're now in the third vessel. There's still some talk about it when it's directly onto a solid, hot piece of meat. So if you see yourself salting hot, solid pieces of meat and they're piping hot on Shabbos, you may want to discuss that with your rabbi and get guidance on that. But generally, salting warm foods on your plate on Shabbos, which is the third thing away from the fire, according to most rabbis, should not be a problem. Okay, now what about putting salt? Remember, we're moving away from the laws of Shabbos cooking now. We're on salt in general. What about putting salt onto ice to cause the ice to melt on Shabbos? Some say that it's permissible because it's grama. You're not directly melting the ice on Shabbos. You are just causing something to happen. Eventually the ice is going to melt when it stays in contact with the salt. Rav Belsky said that's not the reason why salting ice is permissible on Shabbos. It's permissible only because there's possible danger, and for danger reasons we allow you to salt ice. But that would mean that you'd only be allowed to be salting the ice when you know that it's a danger. Sometimes the ice situation is not really a full-fledged danger, and then you might not be able to put salt on it. And remember that we're only allowing this carrying salt outside in a place where there's an Eruv, and you're allowed to be carrying. So there too, I would like to tell you that if you're going to be putting salt on ice on Shabbos in the winter, do check with your rabbi too about the parameters and the type of use, etc. On both of today's halachas, we've educated you, but there are differing opinions, and you should follow your rabbi closely on salting your cholent, salting a hot piece of meat of your cholent, and also putting salt on ice in the winter. Thanks for logging on, and have a great Shabbos, and log on again after Shabbos for more. Bye-bye.